Okay, I don't even have the music on. I got my time messed up. I thought it wouldn't be out for another 45 minutes, and it's out right now. So hang on. I got my time completely jumped up. I'm an hour behind from when I thought it was in Japan. I could have sworn that it came out an hour after. It would come out at 9 and then 8 because it was like. I think I got it mixed up with Shonen Jump Soul Time where it came out at 9 and then 8. What's up, bud? I haven't read the chapter yet. I just put it up because I thought the chapter wasn't out for another 40 minutes, and I was going to start I was literally going to start in like 20 minutes, and I was going to kind of do some build up to it. But the chapter is already out, so I was behind on this one, which is pretty funny. On the big milestone one that I was hyped on, let me check the page count really quick, because one thing that somebody brought up is the page count might be higher because of it being chapter 100, and I want to check that real quick. I haven't checked the or I haven't actually read the chapter yet. Where is the? Hold on, I'm opening it, and I think it has a link in it to something. Okay, it is 33 pages, so it is an extended chapter, so that's pretty hype. I haven't got to it yet. The first thing that we're seeing is there is a color page that has a bunch of the... I'm going to go through it very slowly, because I was not expecting it to be... Like, I'm not going to look at Twitter, I'm not going to anything else. I'm just right now going to be looking at the... I can hear my dogs barking in. I'm just going to be looking now at the content, and I'll go slowly throughout the chapter. I'm going to take this one at a heavy pace. I'm going to probably not look at the chat for a good minute. I'm going to mostly be looking at the chapter, and as I'm going, I'm gonna screenshot parts of the chapter that I want to talk about most, and then we will go over them as they go. I'm gonna pretty much go through the chapter. I'm not gonna look at chat until afterwards, just in case if somebody looks at spoilers before me and then spoils me and everything. I don't want that. Okay, the one thing that we do get a color, nice big opening color page with pretty much everybody that's been in the 100 Years quest for the most part, and then some other side characters like Sherry is in there and stuff. There is one of Ignia. We got Alderon with those god seeds. We see the members of Diablos. Also, as a side thing, something that I will say, this means that this is the canon color schemes of all these characters, of everybody we see. I like all the yellow for Kirin. I know it makes sense. And then Haku, being pure white. I think the best one's still color-wise Suzaku, but I like the Kirin canon colors. I think they look pretty good. I'm trying to think who else we haven't seen in a full canon color layout that we can have now. Did we get an Ignia? Yeah, because he's on the cover of Volume 3. Never mind. I think for the most part we had everybody, but it was just kind of some of the new characters with the Dark Dragon Slayer Knights. We had Suzaku, and because he was on the volume cover twice, and then we had Selene as well. I think it was just the Dark Dragon Slayer Knights. Another thing. Okay, I'm going to actually read the chapter. It is a color page opening as well. We have Suzaku and Natsu facing off. We see the Lucy and Kiria. It's pretty much exactly where the last chapter was when it separated. Or when it ended for each scene, rather. And then, Kirin is walking off. He's just kind of doing his own thing. Misaki is looking at Urza. Urza's got her cut hair. Selene is watching. Another big color spread. It's pretty much the Fairy Tail main cast core members with, it's the main cast with added members like, Gajil and Levi and Kana and Laxus and Juvia. The ones that I can see making sense. I'm happy Kana's in there because Kana usually doesn't get to do a lot. And I'm happy she at least made this because Gajil being in there makes sense. And then adjacent Levi, Carla being in there obviously makes sense. Juvia, Laxus as well. All these are characters that are directly relevant. And even though Levi isn't right now, she's relevant to Gajil, and she has her own relevant plot story, obviously, going on, her own little subplot. Kana, though, in there is what surprised me. And it makes me really hope that she's going to be relevant in the future. So, okay, we're going to get the next page. Natsu and Suzaku are talking to each other. I'm wondering at what point they're going to just actually have a conversation of like how things are going and how like pretty much figure out that they are not really enemies. They just have like a misunderstanding. Natsu and Suzaku are both getting posed up. I think Natsu just has to fight smarter. The problem last time, he went in base and he was rushing his opponent, and I don't even want to count like any of his attacks really of like magic quantity or injuries beforehand, because it's like it was only minimal and still also in base. So it's not like he was putting out that much effort and power. It's more of that like he made a footing mistake in his abilities going at Suzaku, because Suzaku, again, they can't use Dragon Force regularly, so all of their power is pretty much in base unless they have other forms. Whereas Natsu, obviously, he has multiple forms that augment his power capabilities. So base Natsu and base Suzaku are two different things. One of them has powers that he has to, like forms he has to use to get up to that level. One of them is just always in that level because that's how his abilities work. Kind of like Guild Arts or Jura, or really anybody that doesn't have some kind of like power buff but is still extremely powerful. Suzaku is able to get the first hit, but it looks like Natsu has dragon scales on, so he's using Dragon Force. He pretty much put up dragon scales, guarded, and as I said, Natsu with Dragon Force should be perfectly fine fighting Suzaku. Fire Dragon King mode, I felt like it would be like he would be in leagues to fight him, but it would still not be like he still wouldn't be at like a full 1-to-1. Whereas Dragon Force Natsu, I figured, would be able to fight him just fine, and he only took like a small cut from it. It looks like something more like a surface wound. And Natsu's looking hyped up. He's probably like, yeah, I figure that the problem, like maybe this was the problem last time, or I should fight more seriously this time and it won't be an issue. And Suzaku is, he's got to beat a sweat, and I feel like that makes sense. This is somebody that he just no-diffed, but again, the difference that between the two of them is Natsu has to go into these higher states to reach this level, whereas Suzaku can't. Suzaku can't just use Dragon Force at a whim because 5th gen are unable to. And he's like just going for attack. Suzaku's still able to dodge. They're having a pretty even fight so far. I think Suzaku though Suzaku looks a little shaken, because I think it makes sense for him. He just clapped Natsu only like a few days or something ago, and now he's fighting on level with him. But again, this is something completely different than base Natsu. This is a much higher form. He's using a Dragon Force very specifically, which I really like, because after he guards the attack from Suzaku, he undoes it. So he's probably doing it in quick succession to not use a lot of magic, because there's also the aspect of Natsu's forms. Each form does a higher level of power boot, like power multiplier, but they drain magic faster. It's a completely different story depending on which one he's using, because Dragon Force is all in. So using it really quick like that is actually really smart, and it gives him pretty much this quick shield. Quick dragon shield, and logically with dragon scales and how dragon scales work, it would also block magical attacks to a high degree. So Natsu is, again, he's adapting really fast in how he fights his opponents. He's being smart, and not only that, it's in a way of using an ability he already has. So I'm pretty hyped about that. Suzaku is still going for more attacks. Natsu is pretty much, oh no, okay, I thought Natsu was going, like, trying to attack him before he draws the sword, because one of the things, obviously, with somebody like one of these quick draw swordsmen or like a gun person, if you're able to time their attacks, then you are able to have an advantage on them. But it was because he was close to the wall, which sucks, because in a normal, I would understand. It's kind of like with Logan trying to block with his missing arm. It's like, yeah, it's just muscle memory. I imagine in most cases, Suzaku's just going to rip right through the wall because it's going to be normal stone. But he probably forgot that the wall labyrinths are made of Dogromag's body. So they're as durable and strong as a dragon god. And his sword pretty much gets like caught drawing out and is clipped on the side of it. And that makes sense. one of the factual things, and Goblin Slayer did a scene that was a really good example of this. And I get, it's different in terms of fiction, but like in the idea of it, of having a sword like a sword is good, like a melee or a weapon of sorts is good. But if you're in a space where maybe you can't use it, like, in this way, he draws it and it's clinked on a wall, or maybe if you swing it and you're in too tight of a space and it bounces off something, and it messes up your swing. That makes sense to me. This is like a scenario where this actually could happen, because he's not going to be able to just to clip the, pulverize the wall going through, or just completely dust the stone. But this is a material that is way stronger than just rock. This is an earth dragon god's body. Natsu just gets kind of like a kick on him, and Suzaku goes for another attack, but Natsu is just, he seems to pretty much be timing them. Again, Natsu is smart. He does know how to read his opponent's movements and look for tells. And in that terms, I see that Natsu would have a degree of, not an attack advantage, because Suzaku's sword slashes are doing more damage because it is a blade against Natsu than what per attack than Natsu's attacks that Suzaku's are hitting. And neither of them are doing anything crazy right now. It's just kind of their base attacks, so that's completely fine. But Natsu seems to have the attack timing advantage because he's a melee fighter. He has multiple ways that he can attack, whereas Suzaku, unless he starts doing different techniques, his base way of attacking is quick drawing that sword slash. And if you keep an eye on his sword slash, or his sword itself, when he's going to attack. That's obviously the slight disadvantage. Not a big way, but it's in a mild way of obviously swordsman versus martial artist. And there are martial art styles that are designed for dealing with people with blades and weapons. So there is obviously a higher degree of flexibility with it. So I like this. This is a pretty balanced fight so far. And Natsu is bringing that up. There's I'm continuing on where they're talking about it after their quick skirmish. And I think he's asking Natsu about Natsu's level, how he's fighting him so far. And Natsu they're thinking about the fights that they had, that Suzaku had when Suzaku beat him and Suzaku clashed with Urza and then beat Urza. I think he's figuring out how to fight him, figuring out how to combat him. And again, that's something that Natsu does. If Natsu can figure out the opponent's techniques, he did this obviously again with Sting and Rogue. He was able to take damage. It's a different situation because with them, it wasn't that they were more powerful than Natsu and Gajul. It's that they had better teamwork and they had better combinational footing and stuff. Whereas Suzaku, in base Natsu versus base Suzaku, he was stronger. Whereas the difference now is Natsu is fighting in a way that his level is at that level with Dragon Force and stuff, but also he's understanding more of how Suzaku fights. And again, if you know how the guy's going to attack at a core level like that, when his whole thing is obviously draws his sword, resheath, draws it again, kind of like attack style, which is cool, but at when he's going to stop attacking, and if you can see his sword enough, then you are going to be able to know when he is attacking. There's degrees, obviously, of value and pros and cons for each of their things, which I think is making for a really good fight so far. And there's a whole blade clash, which again, I've been saying this for a while, and I'm glad there's a direct good panel of a really relevant, powerful character that proves this. Suzaku's sword swung at Natsu. Natsu's fist with fire on it clashed with it. So Natsu is literally blocking the edge of the blade, countering with his powers. They're matching, but that just, again, something that I've been saying that I don't know why people think it has been capped, is Natsu is able to block a blade, an edged blade with his fire attack, just by doing a normal thing from the force of it. So I'll keep this in mind for any time he's ever put against a swordsman in the other versus match. Suzaku gets another good cut on Natsu, but you do see, because Suzaku does a switch in his footing, and Natsu does see that. Again, really good choreography in this fight. I really like this so far. I figured that Mishima would put a good amount in this. I still don't think this is going to be their last fight. I'm guessing it's going to be a 3-round match, but Suzaku does altered like his stance, and Natsu does notice it. I really like that whole point. But Suzaku goes for like a slash and it hits. Again, there's another really good attention detail. You see Natsu's shoulder in the cut, and he took damage, and you see dragon scales around it. So Natsu is using that ability focused in one area in time. And this is showing, as I've been saying, these two are about equal to each other. And this fight is showing that very well so far. Suzaku's going for, like, what looks to be like a technique, Natsu as well. I'm guessing probably just their, like, starter attacks. I'll have to look, let me look real quick in the, I have Google Translate. I can't read Japanese, but I have decent levels of translation and understanding. Not too much, but a decent basic level. Let me see this right now. Because I'm guessing that it's just their basic attacks. I don't know why they would pull out anything big so far, because this is just the start of their fight. Oh, I won't read it. I think it's just Natsu's Demolition Fist. It might be his Purgatory, like the one he used against Madmol, but I'll have to wait for the better translations to see. Better than mine. Suzaku's in the attack, but he's getting revved up. And we know that he's able to be within big energy, fiery energy attacks because he was in Selene's. It's still doing damage to him, but he pretty much just holds his stance through the entire thing and then sets up. I think he might use his Black Blade Purgatory actually on Natsu after that, which I'm gonna have to see this really quick before I continue, because it has the same background, and I'm wondering like if he would be. It would make sense if he's fighting against somebody that he now sees is potentially on level with him and as a big threat if he goes into like this big attack. Yeah, he does. He does use that attack. So this is the attack that KO'd Selene. Let's see how Natsu tanks it. Natsu's still up, so that's a fact. I've said this multiple times. And this makes sense. Natsu and Suzaku are equal. Natsu and Suzaku are above human. They're above the weaker levels of the dragon gods. We know when Natsu went against Ignia in that very brief confrontation, he was in base. If Natsu went up in Dragon Force and he beat the human form of Ignia, sure, that makes sense. But we know from Selene's whole bit with Georg and Suzaku that even somebody stronger than Suzaku, obviously who's stronger than human Selene, Dragon Selene can one shot with no problem. They all have a weakened form. The Selene, Mercephobia, and Ignia, and we haven't seen anything of Viernes, obviously, have all, like, they've all chosen to go into a human form, whereas Alderán's Godseed was part of his powers, but he had a weakened form if you were able to take down the Godseeds. So he's a mechanic, like, you fight him through mechanics, like how his abilities and stuff work. But all of them have a weaker form so far. And it makes sense for Natsu, who beat weakened Alderán, and Suzaku, who beat a weakened form of Selene, to be on level with each other. And for Natsu to be able to tank that. It clearly does damage. Natsu's not like, oh yeah, it was no problem. He looks roughed up. He looked like that one really hurt, but he did tank it. And that's just, again, a good display of Natsu's defense. So I'm gonna be really, really pressing Natsu's feet this week after that. That's just impressive. Okay, we got a new thing, and this is I forgot, I didn't get this video out in time, and I feel bad about it, but it's okay. I can explain it, and it won't be more of like a build-up, but Dogremag's, like, the labyrinth is made of Dogremag's body. So anything that destroys the wall is strong enough to, harm the body of the weakest dragon god. So they should be above the bar for where dragon god level starts. Natsu and Suzaku are talking, and behind them the wall is melting, and you see a face. You don't know who it is. I'm really hyped for my idea that Selene brings in reinforcements, and we'll see the wall's melting, and there's, holy fuck, it's Ignia. Why is Ignia here? What is Ignia doing in this labyrinth? Why is he here? I was expecting, maybe a new character, and the idea that Ignia showed up is so... Oh my god. So, I thought it was going to be an acid character, and maybe, one of Selene's kids have, an acid ability. Or, I I don't know, or maybe Selene did. I don't know. Selene does something to one of the Diablos members, or maybe it's Kieran or something somehow. But it's Ignia, which is. There's so many funny things about this in a good way from that fan chapter where Ignia teamed up with Selene. And there's even, like Mirror Jane is there, but it's not. But, like, Laxus and stuff is there, and I think Godjil's there, and Ignia's, like, clapped all of them. That looks very possible now. And on top of that, like, what is Ignia doing here? I'm so hyped about this. There's so many good things about this. And on top of that, like, I've been really wanting, like, a badass, like, Ignia human form panel, and this is perfect. I was literally thinking about this the other day, because all his panels don't look as cool. His panel where he first shows up in human form, he looks cool, but, like, not super cool. This is a badass one. Like, he's got a lot of shading. It's got, like, it's got, like, a page and a half of size. It looks nice. Oh, my God. What is the plan now? What is the plan now? Because the fights before, or I'm going to finish the chapter. Hang on. The fights before were all in a way where I could see, in the end, potentially the Fairy Tail members winning. Because obviously they are the protagonists. I saw ways that they could, some members could lose. But I saw a very good potential path for them and how they would win in the end. Against the Dark Dragon Slayer Knights. But Ignia here just makes this so much more confusing, because I literally just mentioned how the Dark Dragon Slayer Knights, Suzaku and all of them, like, there's so much worry now too. There's a lot of worry I have. It's really going to depend on what Ignia does, because I was like, there's no scenario where any of the Dark Dragon Slayer Knights could get God Serena'd or something, or Georg'd, where they just get, again, logically mauled. Very logically mauled by somebody that they shouldn't be swinging at. And now there is somebody that can just literally take out anybody in this labyrinth with one shot. Unless he doesn't go into his dragon form, which I don't know why he wouldn't if he was in a scenario that he was getting pressed and he felt like it. But also, like, are they the Diablos and are Diablos and Fairy Tail going to team up? Because, like, nobody here can take him one-on-one in, like, in a straight fight. He goes into dragon form, he could kill anybody here, no problem. The only threat at all to him here whatsoever is if he forcefully gave Natsu that, like, if Natsu fought him and he ate his flames and then got into that form, but I feel like Ignia giving him his fire and Ignia trying to attack him with his fire is going to have two different natures to it. Like, he can be, like, a character can be way more powerful than him and he gives it to him, and okay, because we know that he can't just no-diff eat an attack of somebody, like, absurdly stronger than, like, whatever form he's in, like, base Natsu to August. But base Natsu's, like, low on magic, beaten to hell, could take, like, magic from Laxus because it was given to him. Same thing with Jalal with the Flame of Rebuke. It's given to them. It's something that you're transferring willingly versus something that, like, I feel like with the idea of dragons and, like, dragon slayers, like, you have to kind of, like, dominate it and be able to consume it. Maybe not full, like, overpower it, but you have to be, like, somewhere within range, but it's probably going to be way different if Ignia's attacking. So Ignia here just completely is so wild. And I knew that there was going to be some form of wrench thrown into the gears to make this crazy. But I didn't think it'd be Ignia. I knew that Ignia was always a possibility because the Dragon Gods can really just go anywhere they want, do anything they want, and only the other Dragon Gods are opposition to them and can stop them somewhat if they stalemate them. But in this situation, this is going to be so weird. So there's a couple more pages. Let's keep going. Natsu and Suzaku are both like shit, which they should be. I don't know what Ignia is going to do because Ignia has no reason to fight the other. This is something that I just want to mention Ignia too. Ignia has no reason to fight the other Dragon Slayers. And I don't think he logically would want to kill Suzaku or anything because Suzaku's pushing Natsu right now. Suzaku literally just, like, pushed Natsu into a way that he developed a new style of fighting that drastically reduces damage and would give him, like, pretty much like anytime he's using Dragon Force, he'd be getting like stat boost to everything. So his reaction speed, his magical power, his strength, everything in that moment is going to be extremely increased. And then he undoes it, so it's not going to take a lot of magic. Like he's figured out a way to advance like fighting in general. So I don't think he would want to kill Suzaku. Selene does look surprised by this. So Selene, okay, this is the last page. Selene does look surprised by this. This is something that I like would be the only thing that could surprise Selene, because again, a dragon god has like no real hold over another dragon god. So, like, essentially to Selene, every single person and being in the world, if she wants to, she can teleport and do whatever she wants with. Whereas, I meant to put panels in there as we talk, but I was so enthralled, or yeah, I was so immersed into what was going on. I really wanted to keep talking about it because I haven't done any I don't think I've ever done a live reaction chapter. Maybe this is how we should do chapters from now on. I kind of like this. I kind of like these early morning streams as well. So maybe that we could start doing this from here on, and it could, like 100 could be the mark. But yes, Laxus seems to be like worried about something he's feeling. Same with Wendy. Obviously, they're feeling Ignia. But Selene being worried about Ignia makes a lot of sense to me. I think that makes a lot of sense because, again, why would she be, what, like, she has no way of really knowing what like the other dragon gods could do. And luckily for her now, there's only Viernes and Ignia, because unless Merc's Phobia gets his powers back, whatever's going on with that whole bit, until that happens, we don't know. And then Alderaan, as far as we know, is dead. So that just knocks somebody out. And then obviously Dogremag is dead. I wonder if Dogremag lived, where he like would be in comparison. Like if he would still be the weakest, or if he would have caught up by now, or you know, something or other like that. But it does show that Selene, though Selene seems to be able to do whatever she wants to anybody, it does prove anybody except Ignia. There is a whole bit at the very end where she's like saying something about like knowing the truth of the labyrinth. So I'm guessing whatever the deal of the labyrinth growing and how it all works right now, Selene knows to a degree, unless she's about to try it, but she's worried about what Ignia wants with it. So this was a really hype chapter. Let me get to the comments and see what you guys have to say. Yeah, let me see all these ones, because this was wild. I knew there was going to be some form of big plot twist. I knew there was going to be some form of big plot twist that was going to make everything just flip on its head. And we got exactly that. So I don't really know what exactly is going to go from here forward, but geez, like I'm so hyped to see what exactly Ignia is going to do. And it makes me wonder, like, what's the plan then with Ignia? Because Ignia, there's no way that Ignia is going to have like a full fight here. Ignia's not gonna, like, I don't think Ignia's gonna have like a fight where he loses. Same thing, I don't think Selene's gonna have a fight where she loses. Hang on, I gotta post the link on Twitter real quick. One sec. I'm just gonna post it right here and go. Okay, let me get to the comments. And like I've been talking straight for the past like 30 minutes, because I'll give a quick refresher on the lore of this stream real quick. I was planning to do a stream going up to it, but I thought from a time frame, I thought the chapter didn't come out for another 13 minutes. But I completely forgot that daylight savings and stuff happened a while back. I don't know why I spaced it, and the chapter had come out while I was getting stuff set up for it. And so I read the chapter raw. I assume a lot of people were here for it. But I can't wait to see where this goes. Like, Ignia is going to be so weird to... Like, Ignia's going to be so weird to be in this, because he can't be stopped by anybody here. Nobody here can prevent him from doing anything. The only character right now that could, like, if he decides to take action, the only character that has the ability to pretty much have any opposition against him is Selene. And if we get an Ignia versus Selene fight, I'm gonna lose my mind. Like, that will be so insane. We get to see both of them, like, two dragon gods, like, direct dragon gods and their dragon forms fight each other. Like, we never have had anything like that before. Like, we never got, like, Acnologia fighting an equal. We never got, we didn't get even Mercephobia fighting like an equal, because that version of Natsu completely demolished him. And when Natsu fought Alderaan, he fought Alderaan at the start, the full power Alderaan. But Alderaan was messing with him. He was just kind of like standing there to show his superiority as he like just threw attacks at him that Natsu couldn't even see. And then he beat a weakened Alderaan, as well as like Suzaku beating a weakened Selene. So, hang on. Josuke was telling me he just got Final Fantasy 14. Okay, let me get to these comments. I want to see what people have to say. I really want to know what people have to say. Is Kieran in it? Kieran is on the color, like the big color spread, and then he is on one of the general pages, like one of the panels. He's not in the primary chapter. It's very focused on Natsu and Suzaku, but you get a glimpse of him. You do get a glimpse of him. And just real quick, as I've been streaming for about 30 minutes, and I just gotta do a quick shill. I'd really appreciate it if you would thumbs up the stream, befriend the like button, subscribe if you haven't, and if you feel like this has been entertaining enough, and I've been entertaining enough and enjoyable to watch, I would appreciate any form. If you want to super chat $1 or whatever, anything's fine. You don't have to. All donations are gifts. They are appreciated. They're not required. But I do like to do a little shill every once in a while. Every once in a while, just to keep people awake. Let's see what else is there. Yeah, let's go. That was pretty hype. I was super hyped for that. Make you a mod? Sure, I'll make you a mod. You behave on my channel. I don't think I ever have to deal with. Oh, I have to do it from YouTube. I can't do it from Streamlabs. Add moderator. There you go. I never get any drama from you, at least on my channel. I love you, Rax, even though you're racist against dragons. I'm not. And always want Slayers in every series to bully them. I don't want that. I think the only time I wanted there to be like a Dragon Slayer-esque character in another series was I was hoping Jaguar was going to be that in Eden Zero, just because I wanted there to be one in there. But outside of that, I want there to be dragons in other series where dragons fit. I don't want there to always just be Dragon Slayers. Incredible was spitting so mad Cap yesterday on the stream. He also got attacked quite often disagreeing with the crew. The thing that was bothering me is I wasn't saying that it was bad writing or it was stupid or it ruins anything. I just didn't like the concept because it felt really convenient to me in a bad way. I didn't like it, and I even said it was my opinion. I never said it was a fact and the story's ruined. That's fine. If Jay doesn't want to talk to me about anything, that's whatever. I don't really care. What else? How can Kieran at Mr. Magic stop or bend lightning? I would have to look into the science probably of how like lightning moves through the atmosphere, because I imagine if you mess with the atmosphere, there's probably some scientific way that lightning is messed with. I don't really know. I'm not a scientist. What's up, Jason Bornot? How you doing? Seeing the chapter making me nervous. I was super hyped. I took it a lot slower, and that's how I might do it. I actually really like talking about it through it. It's kind of more fun than just kind of blitzing through it and then posting a couple spoilers online. Because I know a lot of people end up reading it already. I only post a couple panels, whereas like 5 minutes later somebody posts like the whole Japanese one. And here's what I'm talking about. Some guy says that Ignia is here. And this is what I said why I wasn't gonna read the chat, because I didn't want to get any spoilers. Can't Natsu melt Suzaku's sword? No. Happy faster, more durable than Asta. Happy, if people want to like argue Happy speed, like I can give speed feats. Happy's more of a travel speed guy though. He's not like as much of a reaction speed, but sort of not really, because he's just fast. He has some reactions. I guess you can say he's reaction and travel, but he's not. I guess he is combat speed as well, but it's like his combat is like running into people. Happy just is fast, but he just doesn't he's not a fighter. He's fast and durable, but that's about it. He does have like absurd speed feats. Asta couldn't get to over to the Spade Kingdom, across a small country in 4 minutes. Whereas, like, after, like, a conversation, Happy was on the other side of Fiore, which is, like, thousands of miles. That means nothing sword massively outscales Natsu in AP, but we know that's not the case. That's clearly not the case. That does not mean Natsu's immune to swords. I mean, the chapter just showed Natsu can fight it otherwise. I'm telling you, Selene had a kid with Ignia. That'd be really... I feel like that'd be a really strange plot twist. I mean, I would really want to know where it goes, if that was the case. I mean, because he should be young compared to her, but I mean, like, he's 400 plus. He's not like... I guess we would have to know, like, the age area of a dragon, but he seems like he's an adult in his human form, so I imagine as a dragon he's an adult. He's probably just a young adult, like, compared to, like, like an older dragon. Like, Selene is... So, like, if you probably looked at it, I'd guess Selene... Well, like, it's really hard with dragons, I guess, because we don't know how old they live. I don't think there's any dragons we know of that's lived and then died of old age. I don't think there's ever been any dragons mentioned like that. There's not even many dragons in fiction that do that die of old age, do they? I was hoping for Gold Dragon God. The thing is, like, Ignia can logically show up and not do a lot, but it just be more of like a plot thing, or he could do something pretty hype without it being as crazy, because we know he's mostly interested in Natsu. Whatever the whole thing with the labyrinth is, we'll have to wait and see. But with Ignia, I think Ignia has a personality that, and what we know of, that he won't cause as much devastation as he can. Because I don't think it would make much sense for him to, like, say, like, kill Suzaku, just like, again, like God Serena him or something. Because he wants Natsu to be stronger. So if he's in any way intelligent, he's going to let Natsu fight the guy that's going to push him to help him get to the level of that fight he wants. It wouldn't make any sense for him to do that otherwise. Suzaku versus Natsu versus Ignia. I mean, Ignia should be able to clap either of them, no problem. But I don't know why he's going to really interfere with the fight. Because, like, Natsu's hurt, Suzaku's hurt, they're both fodder to him, he wants Natsu to get stronger. I don't really see a reason for him to fight either of them. It would just be counterproductive for what his whole goal is, for what he wants. Like, if his whole thing is for something about the labyrinth, he's probably going to just walk off. Like, because it would make sense, because he seems to literally just be walking through the labyrinth. He seems to just be walking through the walls. And maybe he just came over here because he wanted to see Natsu or something, to see how strong he is. Like, if he just comments on the fights, like, say Suzaku goes for an attack, Ignia no-diffs it, and then he just kind of, like, keeps talking to Natsu and then eventually just leaves, I could see that happening. Because their fights, again, this is something that he shouldn't really want to interfere with at all. And on top of that, he should just leave it. Like, there's no real reason for him to want to bother with it. He should just walk off. I don't think he'll try and buff Natsu again. He could, but I mean, like, does he just want to keep buffing Natsu unless his plan is to eventually just kind of, like, force snap that form and then, like, permanently, like, turn him into a monster? I don't know. Let me keep going. I'm going to scroll from the YouTube bar instead of the Streamlabs one. Natsu and Suzaku are goats. Yeah, they did really good this chapter. Is he going to give Natsu flames or fight Selene? I feel like him fighting Selene would be more likely, because if he just gives Natsu his fire again, then he... Like, when he did it against Mercephobia, I felt like it was more of, like, you know, get a taste of that power thing. Kind of like, you know, here, just have it now to kind of know what, like, the power he could have and reach would be like. Whereas here, I feel like... Because with Mercephobia, they were outclassed. They were outclassed completely. They wouldn't have won if Ignia didn't show up. Whereas Natsu has a chance with Suzaku, and he's clearly showing advancement and development in his powers, capabilities, and his fighting and skills and stuff. So he shouldn't interfere with that. All that would do would be hindering Natsu's growth. And we know what he wants. He wants to fight Natsu, but he wants Natsu to be way more powerful. So I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's going to leave. I think it's literally going to be like the next chapter, like I said. I think Suzaku will go for an attack. It's going to do 0 damage. And then Suzaku is is probably gonna have some like like holy shit moment. Maybe it will depend because like if Suzaku does, he would have to use his Black Blade to do damage, like serious damage against human form Ignia. But I imagine like if he doesn't, like if he just does a normal technique, it'll do no damage unless Ignia does kind of like a thing Natsu's doing. Like it would make sense if he could. It would make perfect sense if Ignia could just transform part of his body into like a dragon part. He obviously, because he is a dragon, and he clearly has transformation magic down to the point where he can casually just go back and forth between forms. So if he did what Natsu did after just seeing him do it, I could easily see that. That would make complete sense to me. Because Natsu is pretty much just flash activating Dragon Force, where Ignia would just have to be like undoing transformation on one spot. His would be way easier in concept of how their powers are, like how they're doing it with their abilities and like how their powers work. When will Mishima remember Carla can see the future? But she it's not always. She can do it to a degree, but it's not, it's like it's choppy too, and it's very imagery based. Like it's not she's not just getting like, oh, I just saw a full 2-minute clip of the future. Like remember, like anytime she's doing it, we're seeing it very bisected. I guess not bisected, dissected amongst a larger timeline in bits. But it really depends on like, we would need Carla to really have like a moment where also it would be valuable, but also she's in a situation to use it. Because we know, like, say, like in Albrez, she does it to find Juvia. And we don't have to see it on screen. But it's like, what would she really do here where it would matter? All we would really have gotten is, like, what? Like, she has, like, a premonition where she sees Ignia or something? Yeah, it is out. I messed up the time. I'm just scrolling down these old comments. So Selene decided to square up, then she's up, then she's a threat. Like, she's the only one that could be a threat to him. He is going to give Natsu flames or fight Selene. Oh, I read that one. Shawl needs to walk in. Wait, what? Yeah, we're not getting too crazy in here. It wouldn't be as hype as if we knew before he came. Yeah, I like, I don't want a premonition like that. This is a milestone chapter, sudden plot twist Mishima loves to do, and this was a perfect one to do it. There were some other ones that I really had in mind. The Ignia one was always a possibility, but it wasn't the one I focused on because it's like, it's such a crazy one if it happens that it's like, well, what the fuck are they gonna do now? Because right now, Ignia can do whatever he wants until Selene steps in. Unless Selene steps in, nobody there can do anything to stop him. And that's like the crazy thing about that one as a plot twist. That's like an Acnologia arrival. It's just, you can't do anything. The only difference now is there is a character on standby that can do something, and it's going to be up to Selene. God, Joe's a brain girlfriend. That's a bigger achievement than Natsu ever had. I mean, that's more of a character kind of like personal accomplishment. I would say yes, because I mean, like, he's in a very stable relationship, and we already saw the side chapter where he's been working himself excessively to make as much money as possible before his kids are born to provide for him. So if you're looking at it from a like story and fighting standpoint, obviously Natsu has better feats. But if you're looking from just like a more in-depth character, like more of a personal character thing, obviously Gajil is way further ahead. Gajil is way further progressed than most characters in Shonen right now in that category. Like it's not the same as like Biska and Alzak. Like we've seen Gajil's go in like real time, and Gajil has like one of the best like in like ongoing relationships. Like I know that Mishima like took a lot of inspiration from Dragon Ball and stuff, like from a lot of stories, and I think Gajil definitely has a lot of Vegeta in inspiration. But it's like if we saw the whole Vegeta Bulma story, like from their relationship stuff spread out way more and way better, and I think handled way better. Is that something Mishima does really well? Is he handles like the actual like ship relationships really well. In the series, like even looking like Elfman and Evergreen, like they have a really good couple and like a really good ship. Let me keep going. Can Fairy Law Lactus beat Gildarts? No, it wouldn't work on him. Can Gajio match Suzaku? No, because the difference is Natsu and Gajio are equal on base and their hybrid mode. Natsu has 2 forms above that Gajio doesn't. So Gajio wouldn't be able to do the whole Dragon Force thing here because he can't activate it at will, as far as we know. And the thing is, right now, you have to keep in mind 2 things with the Wendy versus Haku fight. Factually, Wendy also is a prodigy, the same way Haku is. We've known that the whole series, Wendy's been a prodigy. That's been a clear-cut fact, the whole series. And 2, Haku wasn't fighting her aggressively. We know for a fact he wasn't trying to really hurt her, where Wendy was trying to actually beat him. So there was a personality thing that nerfed Haku, whereas like I think really when you can look at 2 panels to get that exact thing. You look at like Haku's literally saying, I don't, these really won't hurt you for his attack, whereas like Kirin is swinging a fucking coffin at Laxus. He's literally hitting him with a coffin. Like, that's like the most contrast of I'm not trying to kill you versus I'm trying to beat you to death, as metal as possible, as to the death as possible with the fucking coffin. Gajio doesn't have 2 forms, whereas like he has an upper form, but Natsu has 3 upper forms from base. Like Natsu just has more. That's the problem that Gajio has right now. He doesn't have as many form abilities right now. I'm hoping he gets Dragon Force. He can skip right past a King mode ability. I'm fine if that stays personal to Natsu and Gajio gets Dragon Force, because him and Laxus both need it. Well, Gajio or Laxus has it, but he would be using the shitty Lacrima based Dragon Force. That's like barely been a proper boost. What's up, Jared Punch? Awaiting RCS Legends. I'm probably gonna get that this weekend. I'm thinking about it. I really want to play it. I might wait a little bit because there's going to be a brief period where I'm not going to have my computer for a couple weeks and I'm going to move. And I want to have a lot of Switch games. Like, I played the Fairy Tail game on Steam, but I have the Switch one, and I never played it, my Switch version. So I'm going to play through that, and I want to play the new Pokemon game on my Switch. And I'm going to probably be mostly be doing that. I have a bunch of videos that I'm going to prep and put out during those, like, it's going to be like 2 or 3 weeks that I'm not going to be able, like, I know you can edit videos on, like, the YouTube app on your phone. I'm going to figure out how to do that for the chapter reviews, but for the most part, other than that, it's going to be, like, I won't have live streams for a little bit, and I'll have videos for outside of chapter reviews pre-prepped. I don't even know if it's going to be all the chapter reviews. It might just be 100 Years Quest. We'll see. If someone is galaxy level and hits Natsu with a sword, he's not surviving. Well, we're not talking about galaxy level people. We're talking about the people that are relevant to him. Rakeem, if you're still here, if you show up for a couple more streams and behave, then I will consider it. I know that we don't get along, but I know you're not a Spurg, so I know that that's at least reliable enough to be a potential mod. People don't have to agree with me. I just need to be able to know that they're not going to be too much of a clown. I'm okay with a little clownery. A little clownery is fine. Do you think the cast got a permanent buff being L tier? I think so. I don't think it's the full buff. I don't think they're as fully powerful. I would assume. I don't know though. Maybe not entirely, but it's like they took the magic in and they had the whole limit break with Wendy, so I kind of think they do. I think they have the full, like, kind of base capabilities, maybe. I don't think Wendy could do that form that she did at any point. I think that's the better way. I think that their regular Ellen tier capabilities were just kind of boosted after that to kind of be in that area. The only person I think that would have, like, a bit of a difference is I think Lucy wouldn't be able to summon all of her keys, because I looked through the officials, and one thing that was brought up, I don't think it was brought up in the fan translations. I might be wrong. I could easily be wrong. But it was also because of Ellen tier specifically, not just the magic, that let Lucy summon without that many keys. In general, I think she still will be able to summon her key, or summon without holding her, or summon without holding her keys. But I don't know if she's gonna be able to summon that many at the same time, or maybe vice versa. She'll be able to summon that many at the same time, but she has to hold on to her keys. I think not holding on to her keys is better. Because I think Lucy not being able to, like, disarming, like, completely taking away Lucy's ability to get disarmed is a better upgrade than just being able to summon more. Because that weakness is still there. It's something that doesn't happen to her all the time, but it's still a weakness that, like, characters can exploit. And I think a lot of characters would be able to figure out, too, in situations. Because they have before, obviously. It is weird that Natsu wasn't. Do you think it was weird Natsu was able to transform with just his hands without going Dragon Force completely? No, because he's essentially just using Dragon Force in specific areas of his body. He's just controlling the transformation spots. What if Selene's Ignia's mother? That'd be a little strange. I'm not against it, but I would just be really wondering, like, where's that going to go with the plot then? Because it would make sense, like, age-wise, and if Selene and Ignia hooked up at some point, maybe that was, like, back when Selene was way younger and, like, less powerful, and obviously, like, because we don't know exactly where all of them ranked 400 plus years ago, but we know that 400 years ago, Ignia was a dragon king, like he was a king of fire dragons, and Acnologia level people and Dragon God level people weren't around at that point, at least as far as we know of. As far as we know of, the most hyped dragon pre-Acnologia is Ignia. Well, pre the Dragon Slayer Acnologia, not the actual dragon Acnologia. Gajoga gonna eat Viernes. I have that video on that I gotta talk about, but you are on a right pathway for that. They escaped because Ignia is not with Selene and her son. I don't know where you're going with this. Ignia rebelled against Selene. I mean, it's gonna really depend. I don't know why. Like, I don't know what the plan would be. Like, if it's like some weird he's rebelling against his mom storyline. Because it's like, well, then why doesn't she just use Ignia to like kill the other dragon gods and like they get along or something? Because I don't know what would really stop them from clashing if they were close enough. Because Selene's clearly has enough of a care about her kids. That even ones that she didn't really like, she was upset about hearing his demise. So, well, his slaying and being eaten, even worse. You know, it would be Dragon Force. He's activating Dragon Force. He's just doing it in different parts. Natsu's had Dragon Force on his arms before. He's just being smart in how he fights. Natsu is essentially, like, a way that I can describe it that's really easy is, like, not in a way, because I don't want to hear any form of copying, like, claims. It's kind of like hockey, and, like, how you can go, like, you can use it on a specific part of your body. You can buff one spot specifically. The difference is, like, their power is, like, clearly way easier to harness and manipulate, whereas, like, Dragon Force is a higher end technique. But, like, Natsu's been able to activate Dragon Force at will for a year plus. So him being able to do a more advanced version of it like this makes complete sense to me. And it's not something that's far-fetched. He didn't gain a new power. He's just using a power he already had to a slightly different degree in a really intelligent way. It's true. Ignia might talk to Suzaku about Karnuki. I would like that. I think it'd be really. I mean, like, I don't know if it, like, about the idea of being brothers, but I would really like to hear him just talk about Karnuki. I think that would be really cool in general. Why doesn't Wendy give Dragon Force mastery lessons to other Slayers? I mean, what do you mean? Like, the Dragon Slayer types are different. And on top of that, like, I don't think Gajil is going to want to learn it from somebody else. He's going to want to achieve it at his own way. Because, like, Gajil, we know that Gajil is, he can be a little bit stubborn like Natsu and a little bit petty, but he is also, like, he's also got his own pride. I think he wants to achieve stuff on his own, like, in terms of that, because that's like a Dragon Slayer, like, big achievement. Let me keep going. Where was I? The Dragon Gods were all said to be children when they ran from Aklo. They weren't all children. They were just young. Did it ever say all children? Let me find the chapter. I know Ignia was, because Alderaan wouldn't be a child. Because he clearly had been around a while. Like, even at that point, he said that, like, when he went into resting, fighting after he fought Acnologia, he was only he's only big enough to, like, size one of his cities. So he was, like, the size of one of his hands, which is still giant. Is still huge. And, like, we don't know how big wood dragons are when they're born, but like I don't imagine they're the size of like they said it's bigger than what did they say it's bigger than Crocus? I think they said it's bigger than the capital. So that's like what, like 10 miles across? I don't think they're born 10 plus miles across. Like that's giant. We would see like dragon like wood dragon eggs would be absurdly huge. Like there'd be no way that they wouldn't be like visible across like the horizon. It'd be crazy. How'd you with Gold Dragon Force? It'd be like a gold dragon mode probably. It'd be like some variation. But like I have a whole thing about it I'm gonna talk about. I've been meaning to do it for months. But luckily like Viernes is gonna be a while, so I haven't been pressured to put it up as a time thing. The wall thing with the dragon gods is like I could have done it earlier, but Ignia, I think waiting for Ignia to do it right now is a perfect example that I can use. But it does tell me that like human form Ignia might be stronger than human form Selene, which I don't think that's far-fetched if he has a stronger human form, because Ignia is the one that is, if any of them are stronger than the other, it'd be Ignia. And if Ignia's human form is stronger, because at least from what we know of, like just looking at the Dragon Gods so far, Mercephobia he's been turning like his life around over the past couple decade or so when he found I always mess up spelling her name, Caramel. I'm gonna get her one day. Like that, I don't know what it is with that character. Oh, I have an alarm though. Hold on, I gotta stop before I get copyright strike. I gotta go wake my girlfriend up in a few minutes, so we'll finish up the stream. But I almost lost my train of thought. Mercephobia was not really doing anything crazy over these foreigners. Most of them, they were hiding and then doing their own things, but Alderaan was sleeping. Though Alderaan was getting stronger, he was doing it a different way. Selene seems to have been getting stronger, but obviously like she does like a lot of relaxing and chilling. Ignia's been training. Ignia's been trying to get stronger because he wanted to fight and kill Acnologia. So if he's stronger, like he's been growing stronger progressively more, because I also believe he's the youngest. He should be the youngest by a lot. We don't know the ages of the other ones, but like Ignia for sure would have to be really young when Acnologia showed up. So when we get to him, I think like him having the fastest growth, him being still I think getting stronger, or is maybe like he trained in his human form, because I could see it maybe like Ignia's dragon form is equal, but maybe his human form is stronger than Selene's human form because he wants to be able to fight Natsu, so like he knows the fight is gonna start in like a melee form, in like a hand-to-hand thing. I could see that happening. That would make sense too. Like he stopped training in the dragon form because he just wanted to make his human form stronger for a bit, and then at that point, I assume when Natsu fights Ignia in a full battle, he's going to be able to go into a full dragon form, or in some form of variation where it's going to be fighting dragon Ignia. So Ignia is going to start out in that fight in his human form, so he has to be able to be equal or stronger than Natsu in like to a degree in his human form before they end up getting into those dragon forms. Yeah, this was a good chapter. I'm really hyped for this. I'm about to go and talk about some stuff on Twitter around this and press up some feats. It's gonna be good. I went on that hybrid demon form Natsu. Yeah, I want to see that again. Literally says it just scales. Same way Godjil's iron scales are because he's manipulating the metal to resemble scales. He's not actually doing Dragon Force. Natsu is doing Dragon Force because Natsu has no way of creating scales on his body in another way. And on top of that, we know Natsu has had Dragon Force for over a year. He's had it for over a year. This is not... And it's gotten stronger and progressed more in that time, too. So clearly his hold on and progression in the form of Dragon Force has gotten better than what we saw in Alvarez. So Natsu just pretty much being able to do it in short bursts in areas for block damage and short bursts of stats isn't ridiculous. He's just doing it very quickly. It's not a ridiculous thing at all. It's a very smart way for him to be able to advance his fighting style entirely without having to actually learn a new technique, but just learning a new way to use an ability he already has. Can Sting eat fairy glitter? Yes, he should be able to. Wendy's the one who needs to spam Dragon Force. Well, Wendy's the youngest. Like, and base Wendy doesn't have. Base Wendy doesn't have the feats that like the other big like main slayers and people do have in their base forms. Like Wendy is like powerful, obviously, and she can fight. Her Dragon Force is strong, but Wendy's biggest value is in her enchantments. She'll get there eventually, and as we've seen, like she's still growing. She still has a lot of untapped potential, but she's gonna be using it the most, 100%. Sinbad and Benmar, or is it God Sinbad? Because there's a difference. I know Sinbad is strong, but I don't. As far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think regular Sinbad is stronger than Laxus. I know God Sinbad is, but I don't think normal Laxus is. And I haven't seen anything from Benmar that's really a threat to Natsu, especially after this chapter. I really don't. No, he fought. So no, what? He didn't fight Alderaan 100. Like he didn't fight Acnologia 100 years ago. It was 400 plus years ago. Acnologia's whole dragon genocide campaign started. 100 years after hiding, Alderaan, or 100 years into it, I assume he was hiding because otherwise, like, you would have found him. But 100 years into it, then Alderaan goes to fight Acnologia, makes it out alive, and then spends 300 years resting. He's been resting for 300 years. And I know that number specifically. I remember because, like, in the fan translation initially, it said 500 years, and I was so crazed out on the idea of it being like, well, is he older than like Xerath and Acnologia events? But it's like, no, instead it was that 300 years ago, like 100 plus years into Acnologia's campaign, that Alderaan decided to go try and fight him, didn't do well, and then came back to go rest. And I think that makes a lot of sense, because in his human form, or humanoid form, like just from his design, he has that crown, and that's a form he chose. So he chose to have this crown and cape. So, and even the way he talks, he clearly has a very high opinion of himself. So I think that all that kind of just checked into Alderaan's character and pretty much just everything around him right now. I don't know. I think I lost my. Alderaan. I like lost my train of thought like immediately, like afterwards, and then it's like, oh no, what am I talking about? Alderaan's whole thing I think just makes a lot of sense. I think it makes a lot of sense that he'd be like, it probably got frustrated, went to try and fight Acnologia, failed, and then went and rested for a couple hundred years. Ignia might be stronger in general. I think his human form being stronger would make sense. Do you think there's going to be a villain after the Dragon Gods? I mean, after that, the only person I really see, at least as of right now, is Ogsaram. But it's going to depend on what Mishima wants to do. Like, if Mishima wants to save him for later, or if he wants to save it for... I don't think he should save it for a movie. I was going to say made for a movie, but I don't think he should save it for a movie. If we ever get Ogsaram, I want Ogsaram full focused. I want a lot... Ogsaram, I require a lot of character content for her. Like, a lot of just finding out how this guy works, his backstory. Like, if we ever get that guy, because he's such a story important character, he has to be like a Thanos or a freaking like a Lex Luthor, Doctor Doom, freaking Darkseid, like some big level threat where he has some like deeper, like way more layers to his character. Natsu kept the god flames from Zenko and became Zenkro and became a demon dragon god. I don't think so. He can't keep things outside of dragon fire. Using scales and activating dragon force are completely different. No, they're not. The difference is Gajil, when he was doing it through manipulation of iron. He wasn't actually having scales. Natsu can't do that. No other Dragon Slayer was doing that. The only reason is Gajil's dragon slaying magic made a physical object, whereas the other people had an energy. Gajil is able to manipulate it into various shapes and sizes. It's completely different. That's why Gajil was not even aware of what Dragon Force was when he was fighting Sting and Rogue. Godzilla, like when they were up against Sting and Rogue, Natsu knew. Godzilla didn't. Godzilla didn't know what was going on. Godzilla had never been in a Dragon Force situation, and the only time that he ever activated Dragon Force was against Bloodman. And he even says that it wasn't Dragon Force because he's saying he was behind them. He was the whole bit about being like behind Natsu and Wendy right now, and that was like part of the whole point of him learning about his, like he didn't really mind that as much anymore. People, I don't know why people like don't understand like how some of the powers work. I mean, Lord Fairy Tale Gods, I would like to get some. I would really like to see the stuff with like Oxaram. I don't think Songsaram will ever be in the series. I mean, he doesn't have to be in the series. What I'm saying is, like, if he ever is explored, because he's logically the end boss. He's logically the strongest opponent they would come across. And if they ever do, like, if Mishima ever wants to do it, then he needs to make him a really good character. Because he's directly related to Zareth. Like, he has to have, like, he connected to so many points in the story through Zareth. He has to be a really well-built character. But anyway, Lax and Eric literally does. Yes, the second gen Dragon Slaying, or second gen Dragon Force is not that good. Do you know what Dragon Force is? Dragon Force is literally just a partial and accelerated process in turning dragon-like. That's why the characters that fully achieved dragon form don't use Dragon Force. They just go into their dragon form. When a character, and you see that when Natsu uses Dragon Force normally, and every time a character is using Dragon Force, when they achieve a higher level of Dragon Force, they go to that because the level that they've achieved has advanced to a more progressed evolution in turning them into a dragon. So eventually, you don't need Dragon Force because you just turn into a dragon because you are a dragon at that point. Second gen has shown Dragon Force. We saw it with Laxus and we saw it with Cobra. The difference is, second gen Dragon Force is not very good. The Lacrima-based Dragon Force is not nearly as good as artificial Dragon Force through eating your element, or something that you're able to process, turn into magic, or natural Dragon Force, like that what Natsu has shown to use. 5th gen is obviously completely different, but the whole process of Dragon Force is just the dragon scales. The dragon scales themselves are what's making them go into Dragon Force. The one that Godzilla uses early in the series is not Dragon Force. He is literally just imitating dragon scales with metal manipulation. Blue Note versus Lucifaro. I would give it to Lucifaro. I mean, Lucifaro has better feats. Like, if you said, like, here's kind of like, it would go similar to like my Dante and Blue Note. Blue Note has like wider range gravity. He has higher level like gravity pressure feats, and he's physically stronger, but he has nothing to deal with body magic except his black hole. And Dante's, like, when Blue Note uses his black hole, he has to stand there. He's not mobile when he uses it. He is stationary when he uses it, and it's only until he stuck somebody up. Whereas Dante can form, he can't form multiple at the same time, but he can form them in succession and throw them. They're way more versatile, so he would be able just to like, say he threw one at Blue Note, canceled his, or just like went behind him, threw it, teleport behind him, threw a black hole, his singularity right into his Blue Note's back. They would pretty much go the same way, but to a higher degree. Black Clover doesn't have a lot of physical strength feats, so I can't really comment on like if Lucifaro's physical strength is above Blue Note's, because Blue Note's did clash with Guild Arts, so he has a very high level of physical strength. But Lucifaro should just the fact that Lucifaro he should be fine standing in the gravity. They should be able just to he should be able just to do gravity stuff of his own, but he should also have black hole powers better than Dante, so he's just going to throw it and do the same thing. So he should be able just to clap him no problem. And at that point, it's just having having a better control of one of the better types of that power, like having a way better instant kill kind of hacks like that is a big decider in a fight. Because like even though Dante has weaker physical stats and aspects than Blue Note, he has that way better one shot, so he's gonna win that. Eric's never shown Dragon Force. Yes, he did. His hands became dragon-like. His hands directly had scales and claws. Blue Note has no good feats. Yes, he does. Blue Note fought against Gildarts. Go reread those chapters and look at Blue Note's feats. Like, the fact he's pulling the rain down like he is means that the range is up to the cloud layer. Because if it wasn't, it would pull the water down, and there would be a spot where water just gets accelerated raining. So there'd be multiple kind of like short gaps in like where the water hits, and then just has like a void space of like between areas that haven't kind of like gone into this acceleration of gravity. He's at the cloud layer, and we know that people at his level, Gildarts as well, have abilities that can have the range and power to affect clouds and like that high up in the air and that level of just range and damage. Can't believe somebody compared Fairy Tail One Piece and power scaling. Fairy Tail snobs easily. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Fairy Tail's way crazier feats. Somebody was trying to tell me that Whitebeard could take Alderaan the other day, and I was like, that's the level of hoops you'd have to jump through for that to be an argument is absurd. Like, there's so many things that Whitebeard would get. Like, Whitebeard would immediately get time locked by gears. What does he do against that? What does he do against spores that auto kill you? What does he do against the fact that Wolfen can just keep spawning and make like dozens of Gold Rogers or Rocks? What's his name? Rock Zebek or whatever his name is. Where are you reading the chapter? I have the app from Japan, so I get it directly from where it releases. Loose Far is probably small plant or planet level because there's two gaps. We'd have no idea how powerful he is right now. Black Clover doesn't like Black Clover's like biggest characters are like threats to the Clover Kingdom and like the Spade Kingdom. And those are small countries. I don't think Lucifaro's got any reasoning to be planet like even small planet level yet. If he does something, sure, but as of right now, I haven't seen anything from anyone in Black Clover that would constitute small planet level. That'd be ridiculous. Gildarts being drained, dude. What do you mean? They were fighting. They were fighting on par with each other until then, and Gildarts got his magic back. Gildarts won. We knew that Gildarts had an edge on him, but he was still about level with that version of Gildarts. What do you mean? And we also know that he was above all of the seven kin of Purgatory, including Ultir. And Ultir was able, like at her full power, was able to affect an island-sized tree. She was able to manipulate time on something that large and that massive. Black Clover characters are continental max. No character in Black Clover right now is continental. There is 0 continental feats in Black Clover. Blue Note and Shiki versus Dante and Fujitora. I still think that Dante is gonna like be enough to beat them. Because like I said, like the black hole is like one of the best powers you can have for gravity manipulation, and he can just throw it, and like once that one's gone, he can just make another one. So like he has a really good advantage, if you can put him against other gravity people, just because even if like Shiki and Fujitora have nothing to really kind of go against the whole black hole thing, but Dante being able just to chuck him around is going to be really dangerous. 100% Loose Bar will be continental planetary. I don't think he'll be planetary. I could see him being like a threat to the whole continent at full power, for the Clover King or for the continent that the Four Kingdoms are on. It would really depend. I mean, like that's not. I guess that's a continent, but I think like that's like large country level if we use like the standards of like sizes, because like the Four Kingdoms aren't that big. It'll just depend when we see him do stuff. I mean, maybe he'll pull something out. Maybe we'll get like. Maybe he'll do something, and we'll see like a big angular shot from like the planet. We'll see like a curve, and he'll just have like a giant shock wave that also like affects the ocean around like the kingdoms or something. Something like that. If he does something like that, I could see continental. But like we haven't seen anything from Black Clover so far that's really that kind of crazy. He spent years training Seven Kin and Blue Note, but they lost it mostly. What are you talking about? Like self-thought fairy tale mages? I don't know what you mean by that. I mean, Gildarts was a big deal. Like, Hades even mentioned that for Blue Note to lose against Gildarts, it wasn't even like an absurd thing. And one of the things that screwed over the Seven Kin is the Seven Kin pretty much all fought for themselves. And we know that having like having people to fight for, like how it connects to like magic and like your emotions and stuff. It does give you a bit of like a boost, whereas the Seven Kin didn't have any of that because they were like fine killing each other, screwing each other over. They had no allegiance or alliance with each other. They weren't a guild that had like a good connection or had each other's back. Like so they were pretty much just on their solo power. Blue Note is disappointing compared to Dante. I mean, Blue Note isn't. Blue Note is a. He's a dragon character. He's supposed to just be this extra like boss before you get to the big boss. He's not the same as like where Dante was the big boss for what, like 50 chapters or whatever it was, like for a whole year of the series. Dante has a whole section where he's like the strongest guy around, and he was like a big threat. And he had a fight against Yami and Asta and Magna. He had multiple fights really where he was sitting at. I think that the hardship is like obviously Blue Note when he came back from the time skip. 8 years he didn't get that much stronger. Whereas like Natsu Powerhouse grinded. He has good feats, but obviously Dante just has better feats because Dante had more of like a villain focus, whereas like Blue Note was an extra surprise enemy, and Dante was a big focus enemy for a while. Do we think Noel joined the fight? I would hope so, but I don't think so. Can Haku solo Tartarus? Yes. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna end it. Wait, I haven't read the Fortnite's chapter, so I'm not gonna read that. I'm not gonna read it. I want to read it. I haven't read it yet because I wanted to just focus on the fairy tale this chapter. But anyway, thanks everyone for showing up. I appreciate it. I can't believe that I messed up the time. I saw like one panel on Twitter and I was like, shit, I gotta hurry, and I gotta make sure not to look at the chat, and I can't look at Twitter because I don't want spoilers. But outside of that, you guys have a good rest of your day. I'm hyped to get to the chapter later and see exactly how things go. But other than that, I appreciate everyone for showing up, and I think